Today, in current events from a Christian perspective, an animated TV show for children with robots in disguise comes out as non-binary. I guess I should have expected this from Transformers. Meanwhile, the United States Navy comes out with a new recruiting technique, and it, well, is also transformative. Finally, we'll end with a podcaster, Tim Pool, discussing abortion on his show, and it may be the best example of how ridiculous the pro-choice people sound when confronted with actual facts. All this and more, I'm Matt Odegaard, and this is Church Public. Well, again, welcome back to Church Public. I'm your host, as always, Matt Odegaard, and really appreciate you stopping by today. Your time is valuable, and I want to honor that. I have put this podcast together because we have to understand how to live out our faith, and some of that means we have to understand what is going on in the culture around us. We need to open up our Bibles every day and read through them, but we also need to understand how to apply it to real life, the real world, because we live in it, and we need to live out our faith in that real world. So I want to help you through that with current events from a Christian perspective. If this is helpful to you and you want to hit the like and subscribe and share button and do all those things, that would be great. I appreciate it. Otherwise, really appreciate you stopping by today. If this is you on audio, you can always get this on video too. It should be on the regular YouTube platform, but if it's not, you can go to churchpublic.com and get it there as well. So we try to compare current events from a Christian perspective. I see a lot of conservative perspectives out there, and to be quite honest, I don't always agree with what they say, because sometimes they just want to be less liberal than a liberal, but still liberal. And I'm going to try to be less liberal than that. I'm going to try to be Christian. I'm going to try to look at the Bible, see what it says, and move on from there. So we're going to get right into it and go through a couple of news articles and just figure out what in the world is going on in this world. All right, let's look at some news. So we're going to look at this video clip from the Transformers. I mean, as I said in the opener, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the Transformers is kind of trans because it's literally in the name, but I still am. And the reason I am is I think, and maybe I was just naive as a child or as a young parent, of which I'm, I guess, less young at this point, that when I set my kids in front of the television, you know, for animated shows, that they were going to be fairly family friendly in these animated shows, that is. And now I'm just telling you, parents, this is the Christian perspective. You need to watch everything that they watch. You cannot take anything for granted, no matter where it's coming from. It doesn't matter if they're robots in disguise or whatever, Disney or Nickelodeon. I've gone through all kinds of things. I gave you a Blue's Clues thing the other day. Several months ago, we looked at Blue's Clues, maybe even last year at this point. That one came back around again. I'm not even going to show it today because I don't want to show it again. But all of these shows that you would think are safe for your children, I would just watch it with them and check it. Anyway, what is going on in this clip? This is Transformers, which is about robots, alien robots, apparently, that have special powers, and they come down and take over the world and do special things and, I guess, help humanity. I don't know at this point. There's so many spin-offs that I can't keep track, and I don't really care anyway. But you should care because your kids care, because if your kids are watching any of these things, or you're letting your kids watch any of these animated shows, this is what they're seeing. So this apparently comes from a spin-off show of Transformers called Transformers Earth Spark. And this series features a robot called Nightshade, who says he or she, I guess, just doesn't fit with who I am, and I would rather use they, them pronouns. So yep, Transformers are using pronouns. Let's watch this and we'll kind of evaluate it and come to some conclusion.
My pronouns are they, them.
Thanks. I'm Sam. I'm she, they, but you already know that.
Wow, what an amazing city.
I'm sorry for how I reacted. It's just, sometimes the world can be a scary place. It's hard to know who's dangerous or not.
That's true, though disappointing.
Hey, it's okay. I know I'm safe when I'm with my friends or other non-binary people.
Non-binary?
people who aren't female or male. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have assumed.
I always knew my pronouns felt right, but what a wonderful word for a wonderful experience.
So that's where we've got to get. I don't know if you caught most of that. If you were just listening and not watching, again, it's just an animated show with a girl, apparently, and then a robot, which doesn't like to be he or she, and now the robot wants to be they, them, which this show identifies as non-binary. And I mean, okay, it's a robot, so what does that really matter? Well, it matters because I hate to use a big word, but they're making this robot anamorphic. Like they're making this robot like a human by transforming this robot into a human. That's kind of the whole premise of the whole Transformers experience. And a couple of things that I want to point out here. One is they say in this show that the non-binary world is a wonderful world. I'm sorry, quote, wonderful word for a wonderful experience. That's non-binary. In other words, he, she doesn't count. We're just going to be non-binary because that's more wonderful. They are intentionally painting this whole world of non-binary gender expression as better than this ugly, gross, sad, pathetic non-binary of male and female, like we've always had and always known. So they want to change it completely from the inside out. It also stands to point out here, and I don't know if you picked up on this, but I do, just because I do this a lot. I don't know if you heard the language, right? The language was, sometimes this world feels scary and dangerous, but I don't feel scared when I'm around my friends who are non-binary. So again, I don't know if you picked up on that, but that's what the phrasing was, right? That's what this character, the girl in this point, speaking to the robot, that's what the girl said. People who don't agree with this pronoun ideas, and they don't use the right pronouns, and they don't even believe in non-binary, these old fuddy-duddies that look at the Bible or whatever and say, well, there's just male and female because Genesis and Jesus in Matthew 19. I mean, that's just what, the Bible says, but that's just wrong and old. Those are scary people. And those may even, as this show says, be dangerous people. There may be a dangerous world out there if you're non-binary, because it's dangerous. This is the lie, right? This is the lie that feeds into where you get this idea of transgenocide and these other things that people are literally dying from this, which is not happening. People are not being killed for this on a genocidal level. Genocide means like you literally kill people because of their race or ethnicity, which, as far as I am aware, transgenderism isn't a race or ethnicity. But anyway, even though that doesn't fit at all, this is the word that people are being accused of doing. And this TV show for kids is propagating this. So as a parent, you just got to know. You got to know this is what's going on, and you got to be careful what your kids watch. All right, let's keep going, because I want to get to a few things here today. And we got to talk about the Navy. I have such respect for our people who serve in the armed forces. I really, really do. I want to say that at the outset. I really respect people who serve. I always thank them every time I see them in whatever uniform that they're in. I just want to say that up front. I really do. I mean, whenever I see a police officer, sheriff, here we have constables, we have all kinds of things. Whenever I see or run into a person who has served or is serving in the military, I always thank them for their service. I'm probably awkward in that way, but I really do. I really go out and I really do thank people, because I feel that from my heart. The dedication, responsibility, and sacrifice that it takes to serve in the armed forces is not beyond me, and I really commend that. However, this particular clip that we're going to look at, that is apparently endorsed by the U.S. Navy as this new digital ambassador, I can't really get behind. I can't do it. So anyway, the news story here is that if you haven't seen or don't know, recruiting for all branches of the armed service is down a lot, which isn't surprising, because it used to be that you would tell these young men that they can sign up to fight for their country, to make a difference in the world, to be all you can be, all of these things. But now colleges, high schools even tell you that America is a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad place, and that we're all colonizers and we're terrible people. So why would you want to fight for them? And the message has been received. The armed forces, all of them in recruiting, are down. And so the U.S. Navy has invited an active duty drag queen to be part of the Digital Ambassador program. This is a drive to, quote, attract the most talented and diverse workforce to combat plunging recruitment. So this is Yeoman Second Class Joshua Kelly, identifies as non-binary, appointed the first of 5 Navy digital ambassadors in a pilot program that ran from last October to March. Kelly, whose stage name is Harpy Daniels, has shared a journey on TikTok and Instagram where they described how they began performing on board. I'm going to actually play some of this. I'm going to turn down the volume and play some of this as we're going through, because we don't really need to hear it. And if you can't see it, it's probably better. But anyway, here's just some of Harpy Daniels, aka Kelly, and their performance. And again, this video that we're looking at says they're a Navy ambassador now, and they go under the name Harpy Daniels. And then this person says that they are a leader in the Navy because they go in drag, and an advocate for the LGBT community. This person is changing in and out of their uniform to other outfits that, if you're just listening, I'm not even going to describe. You don't yeah, anyway, it is what it is. So this is just another drag performer, but this is a drag performer in the Navy, and it's a drag performer in the Navy whom the Navy has invited specifically to be a Navy digital ambassador. Now, this article says that they were not paid for this, which I guess is good, but at the same time, this Navy digital ambassador was, I guess, promoted by the Navy to specifically advocate for people to join the military. Now, I'll just say again, the military, all the branches of the military, tend to be people who are patriotic. And in many instances, they're even families or friends of people who've been in the military, because it's passed down from family to family. That's just the way that the military has typically been. But now that we as a country don't like the police or the country or patriotism, we've lost that. And a winning strategy, no one's listening to this that wants to or could do anything about it, but I'm just going to tell you, if you wanted to take my advice, which is probably pretty good advice in this instance, a winning strategy would be, hey, be patriotic. Fight for your freedom, fight for your family, fight for your country. Be all you can be, the old army one. Be a part of something greater to preserve something special like America. If you said that to a lot of these young guys in America, they would probably say, yeah, I do want to fight for freedom and fight for liberty and fight for justice and fight for those that can't fight for themselves. I feel like a lot of men would respond to that. And in addition, add another piece to this. Apparently, as I've read, there's a current cultural phenomena that most young people, or many at least, if not most, young people are too overweight to actually join the military. So the military has been reducing standards of entrance. So those are a couple things that are going on, leading to the lowest, apparently, numbers of recruitment for, I think I read one place that was like 100 years. It's a lot lower than it should be. And that's not great, because we want a strong military, because I would say, hey, we want to be protected from enemies, foreign and domestic, as the military would say. Instead, apparently, the sales pitch of this current military is find your personal fulfillment. Be you. You be you. And I have to say, sadly, and again, I talked at the beginning how much respect I have for those who serve in the military. This marketing pitch is super silly. The military is not about you. The whole point of the military is to take away all the parts of you that are you, strip you of you, and make you uniform. It's literally in the title, make you uniform with everybody else, so that you all work together in one band of brothers, right? I mean, that's a term we hear all the time in terms of military, so that you can join and win battles. That's literally the goal of the military, to become uniform, to go together and win battles and be somewhat, and our current individualists are going to hate this, but to be somewhat interchangeable. You can replace whomever else is there, because that's the specific design of it. You want to have people to replace you so that you can keep moving forward and winning these battles. But you just think about the silliness of this marketing pitch that says, well, you just be you. You be whatever you want to be. You be a drag queen. You be whoever, live your truth. If everyone thought they knew what is best for themselves on a battlefield and ran around in whatever way and direction that they wanted, well, put simply, they would all be destroyed. We all know that. That's just ridiculous. Think about, I was going to say a famous battle, but think about any famous battle that you want. Think about if half of the people were dressed like this person, and think about the fact that, hey, you just do whatever you want on the battlefield. Like, it's fine. I won't tell you what to do because, that would be cramping on your style. You just live whatever style you want. You live whatever truthful you want. You just go on the battlefield and I'm sure it'll all be fine. No, that would be a terrible battle strategy. Everyone for all of history knows that's a terrible new battle strategy. However, apparently this is the new strategy of the U.S. military recruiting department. I hesitate to even share stories like this because it's so frustrating personally, because I have so much respect for America, because I have so much respect for our people who are serving in military. But the people that are promoting this kind of shenanigans and silliness are just infuriating. Like, it is very sad that this is what they've done to our military. And the unsurprising result of all of this is no one's joining. You think old Joe Clark down in the South is going to look at that trans person and say, oh yeah, I definitely want to go on a boat and serve in the Navy with that person. I'm sorry. That's just not happening. Like, this sales pitch is, in my opinion, missing a mark. Speaking of missing a mark, I came across this guy, and he is a pastor, and I know. Sometimes I bring you pastors that just go off the deep end, and that's important. We need to see that. But from a Christian perspective, I came across this pastor, and I think he nails it on the head. So I'm going to highlight this particular pastor because I think he really describes exactly this issue that we're seeing, and I think he does a really good job. So I want to highlight him because, I don't know, maybe you get tired of hearing from me saying the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to have somebody else say the same thing over and over again. Anyway, this is Pastor Andrew Cedra from Echo Church in Australia, and I think he just says this really well. So let's listen to a little bit of this message that he gave a little bit ago.
The gospel and the LGBTQ sex religion, they're the total opposite. That's why this will be the biggest point of religious tension.
I'm going to pause this for just a second because it's really good. He says the gospel and this LGBTQ religion are exact opposites. I think he is exactly right on this. 100% true. This is true. And by the way, if you're just an audio listener, his t-shirt, I don't usually appreciate preaching in t-shirts. I kind of like to dress up a little bit when I preach, but hey, what I'll give him a pass for on this is his t-shirt says love, and it is the not equal sign. Love is not love. And under it says God is love. That is a super tight shirt, and I appreciate it. 100% love it. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say.
That will be the biggest point of persecution to the church the next few years.
I'm sorry, I got to let him talk, but what he said was so good if you missed it. This is going to be the biggest persecution point of the church in the next few years. 100% agree. Again, this is what I say all the time, but this is where we're going. If we don't understand what the truth is, which is why I put so much emphasis on the actual word of God, you have got to get into the word and know what the word says in and out of season, because they're going to come to you and say, you can't read the scriptures that say homosexuality is wrong, which are scriptures in there. Corinthians, Timothy, Titus. I mean, there are scriptures that are in there that say these things. Even Genesis 1, which says God created a male and female. Those things are going to become outlawed. They're going to become things where you can't say those things. This is going to become a point of persecution. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying this is the direction culture is going, and we need to be ready for it. All right, let's keep listening.
We are so different. Whatever we believe, the LGBT sex religion believes the opposite. Whatever they believe, it's like we are the total opposite. But like, we are so different. Catch it? So the LGBTQ is about self-expression. The gospel is about self-denial. Jesus said, if you want to follow me, you must deny yourself. Again, we are the opposite religions. Catch the next one. They worship sex. We worship God. They are man becoming God. We believe that God became man. See, that's why they celebrate pride. We celebrate humility. We are the opposite religion. Total opposite. Total opposite. So see, they believe that you're born this way. Jesus said you must be born again. They believe that I'm perfect just the way I am. The gospel is I'm a sinner. It's so different, and that's why if you try to be more loving, if you try to be more inclusive, if you try to be more diverse, if you try to water down the gospel, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because theologically, philosophically, in every single sense, we are the total opposite polarizing ideological framework.
I mean, I'm just saying, couldn't have said it better myself. That was really, really good. We are the total opposite, and we need to understand this. We need to understand that I still have so many pastors and theology professors and teachers and friends who want to go into this and have really good conversations and have debates about this. And you have to understand, we do need to know the truth. We need to know how to express the truth, but you also need to understand this is acting like a religion. And so sometimes when we talk about this, it's not going to make sense, and it doesn't matter to them if it makes sense. It's what they believe, and they're going to believe it until they die. They're going to believe it with all of their heart and all of their soul and all of their strength. They have that same conviction level that we have about God. Love God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength. They love this religion, LGBT, with their heart and soul and mind and strength, and they're going to push it with everything that they have. It doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what anything is. And the opposites, those opposites that he presented, if you need to go back and rewind that again, go back and rewind that again, because it's so good when he lays out some of those things. Like they want to lift up yourself, and Jesus says, deny yourself. That's one of my favorites. Pick up your cross and follow me. So we need to do that more and more and more. That is the Christian perspective when it comes to LGBTQAA plus hashtag emoji $sign ideology, and we need to understand that from a Christian perspective. Okay, let's try to get to one more here. I'll go fast through this. But this, man, I just saw this, and I know I'm doing a lot of clips today and less talking. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. Hit a comment if you tell me, what do you like better. But this is Tim Pool, another podcaster, and he had Lance of the Surfs TV on, and what I love about this is that he's talking about abortion. Basically, they're kind of debating abortion. Like, when is it okay? When is it not okay? What makes it okay? Why is it ever okay? They're talking about this. And as far as I know, actually, neither of these guys, Tim Pool is not I don't think he's a Christian, as far as I can tell. He's really not even a conservative. He's been fairly liberal on a lot of things. However, it's interesting to watch certain people in this day and age move in a more conservative direction, maybe as a result of how crazy and insane the left side has become. I don't know exactly. But anyway, Tim Pool is arguing against abortion in a couple of these clips. I want to watch them together. I want to go through it and then talk through some of these pieces. I'll try not to pause too much, but I might have to, because they really, really are good, and I want to make sure we understand what is going on here. So let's take a listen to this clip.
So if Colorado, for instance, passes a law saying there is no medical requirement for an abortion, is it wrong to kill the baby?
You're trying to compare murdering someone with a gun to a woman having to make a medical decision that could basically preserve her life.
No. I said not a medical reason. That's what I'm saying.
Should she have the ability to have an abortion for any reason? Yes.
At 9 months.
At 9 months, I would say at 9 months, because it only happens, according to the stats, based on complete medical necessity. She has a right to do it.
No. Hold on. Colorado legalized abortion up to 9 months with no medical reason required. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that decision, yes.
So the baby could survive on its own, and the mother is legally now allowed to just end its life.
She has the right if she wanted to. You're saying so in Colorado, and
it's not a trick question.
I know, but I'm asking you because you're the one who brought this up. I don't know what Colorado's specific law says. So if you were saying that in Colorado, women have the ability at 9 months to have an abortion for any reason. They could just decide that they're bored. Yeah. Okay, I think they should have the right to do that, but the stats show that they're not doing that. But they should have a legal right to do that. Yes, it's their body, it's their choice, of course.
So this is what I disagree on. I think if the baby needs to be removed from the woman, there's no reason to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you could just C-section and then put it up for adoption.
But I'm telling you that doesn't happen.
But it does. But hold on.
Like, you might be able to bring up anecdotes, but the stats don't say that.
Hold on. Like, why allow it to happen? I just don't understand. Are you arguing? Wait, hold on. Are you arguing you oppose it And you think it's morally wrong, but you think it should be legal?
I think that women should have the right to decide what they do and have bodily autonomy over their own bodies.
We're not talking about her body. We're talking about...
It is her body.
We're
Of course
talking
it is. At 9 months, even if it's still inside her, it's still her body. Even if it's a viable
But we're
baby, it's
talking
still her
about
body.
the removal of the baby, yes?
The forceful removal of the baby, or...
Forceful.
So she chooses to have that. She
The
should have the
woman
right.
says the baby must be removed from my body. Why kill the baby if they're removing it?
I don't think they should do that. I would if they asked me, Lance, should I do this? I would say no, but she should have a right. Yes, of course. It's her body still. That doesn't stop.
So, like, the woman is pregnant, the baby is viable and capable of surviving on its own.
Sure.
And she says before it breaches oxygen, kill it. Do you think that should be allowed?
This is, again, the baby guillotines. This is why I brought that up. But what a weird scenario. This doesn't happen. This is not the real world.
But it does. And if the argument is that it doesn't happen enough for you to care, that's fine. You're allowed to believe that.
Sure.
What I don't understand is it seems like your position is a rather shocked position where you recognize there is something inherently wrong with taking the life of a baby that could survive on its own, but you're also taking the tribal position of women should be allowed to do it anyway.
No. If you were to ask me, Tim, hey, Lance, do you think it's a good idea if this woman who's 9 months pregnant, suddenly she got bored with the pregnancy, she doesn't want to have it anymore, but the baby's viable? Do you think that's a good thing to do? I would be like, no, of course not.
Then why should it be allowed?
Because it's still her right. It's still her body. But bodily autonomy doesn't stop at my morality. Tim, it's not...
Okay, we're going to pause it there. I tried to get through as much as I could without interjecting, but man, there's so much going on here. So first of all, just some background in case you didn't know. Governor Polis signed Colorado HB 22-1279 last year, I believe, March 23rd, I think it was. Reproductive Health Equity Act is what it is called. It was passed by the Senate, and it allows access to abortion for pregnant women up until the moment of birth. Colorado has done this. This is actually a real thing. This is a real thing that in Colorado at 9 months plus a day, whatever it is, and a lady who is pregnant, a woman who is pregnant says, just kidding, I don't want to have this baby anymore, the abortion is allowed. In fact, there's even things that if they're, let's see, I have, if there is something wrong with the baby and it is born, they don't have to intervene medically after the baby is in fact born. This is Colorado right now. This is real. Governor Polis said, quote, in the state of Colorado, the serious decision to start or end a pregnancy with medical assistance will remain between a person, their doctor, and their faith, end quote. And I would say, yes, you clearly are going along with faith here because that baby's a baby at 9 months and even before, but they just don't care in Colorado. Now, he says, this guy, Lance, who Tim is arguing with, right? So Lance is on the pro-choice side. Tim was on the he was arguing against pro-choice in this clip. And so Lance says, well, the stats show that people are not killing babies at 9 months, but the argument here is that you should be able to kill them. You heard it. I tried to let it go as long as I could, but you heard the argument. And here's the deal. I have heard this argument over and over and over and over again. It's not usually this clear, which is why I like this, because the person who is arguing for pro-choice, for abortion, is saying, well, personally, of course I wouldn't say kill the baby at 9 months. That's just terrible. But I don't get to make that decision, right? This is the my body, my choice argument. I don't get to make that decision. So, of course, a mom can kill her baby at 9 months. So he's saying no one's actually doing this, but if they needed to, they would be able to. That's what Lance is arguing in this. Now, here's the thing. I want to peel back some layers of this argument for you in case this is the Christian worldview, in case you don't understand this argument that's being made, and in case you feel snowed over because people talk really fast and they say these things and say, well, you should just, it's my body, my choice, so just leave me alone. No uterus, no opinion, right? In case you fell for this argument, which people do, and I don't begrudge you if you fall for this argument. I get it. I want to help you with this argument. In case you fell for it, here's the thing. The baby has to be born either way. He may have forgotten that. People may forget that, but there is no, hear this. There's no magical way to remove a baby in utero from a woman's stomach. There's no way. It doesn't just disappear. The baby is in there. Either you have a regular birth or you have a C-section. And if the baby is alive, you have the glorious and wonderful opportunity to birth a live baby. This delusional guy and many others are arguing that killing the baby at the moment before birth because he wants the mother to have a choice, quote unquote, and he has apparently forgotten that the birth still needs to occur. So in essence, he, like many other pro-abortion people, is arguing to kill the baby and then birth a dead baby, which, as Tim correctly points out, is totally legal in Colorado and other states, which, to you, if you have any conscience and any heart left and are not totally jaded by all of this death cult stuff, that should sound horrifying. That the moment before birth, you just decide to kill a baby because, never mind, I don't want to have this baby anymore. Then from there, once you realize that a baby is actually a baby, regardless of stage or location or time, a baby is still a baby. Then I would suggest you must make the logical leap that killing this baby at any stage is just plain murder. You don't get to say, well, what about 10 weeks? What about 6 weeks? What about 4 weeks? Why? What does that timeline make any difference at all? Once you have established that the baby in the womb is actually a baby and you realize this is what's really going on, why do you get to choose an arbitrary timeline at some point in the gestation period that the baby's not a baby anymore? Even scientifically, that just doesn't make any sense. Babies are conceived and they become babies when they are conceived. That's just the way. Now, if you want to argue murder, just argue it. Say, I just want to murder people. But this whole quote unquote choice fallacy is just that, a fallacy. We are not talking about one person. We're talking about two. That's the thing that they try to trick you into this idea. Well, it's my body, my choice. No uterus, no opinion. No one has asked the baby what the baby wants. Does the baby want to get killed? No, of course not. But we don't get to ask the baby because we don't get to hear from the baby, which is why I talk about this so much. We've got to stand up for those that cannot stand up for themselves. And there is no one on the planet that has less power than a poor baby in her or his mother's womb. So I'll end with this because I feel like I'm getting a little ramped up and I don't want to necessarily go there. I want to say this. You, sweet unborn baby, are not a mistake. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. Psalm 139, 13-14. Those are the words of the Lord. Those are the words of God, talking about babies, talking about the fact that you are made specially in your mother's womb. God knew you before you were born. God knows who you are and what you're going to do. And you are not a mistake. Then we go on to the present. Two wrongs don't make a right. Here's a weird analogy, but I think it kind of works. If a bank robber, let's say the bank robber is a father. If the bank robber kills a guard, do you kill the robber's son? Was the robber's son there? No, it was just the bank robber. Just, he's a father. He has a son. His son was at home playing video games or something. Do you have to kill that son? No, of course not. That doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. The son isn't guilty. The son didn't do anything. Why? Because you don't punish a child for the sin of the father. The child exists. Now, if you want to argue for murdering children, go right ahead. I don't think anybody's going to follow you down that road, but feel free. That would be a more honest argument. But you cannot unmake the child. The child is made. Whether it is on purpose, whether it was a mistake, whether even if it was a crime, the child has been made. Conception has been done through no fault of the child. Should we punish a criminal? Yes, probably more than we currently do. Should we punish the innocent, like babies? Absolutely not. And we should punish them less than we currently do. Any act of abortion is an act of punishing the innocent. Yes, we need to punish the guilty more than we should, but we must protect the innocent. So I hope you stand for what is right. I hope you stand for what is true. I hope that you follow God with all of your heart and soul and mind and strength. And for Church Public, I'm Matt Odegaard, and I hope that you will keep the faith.